Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the measure.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I always enjoy this day because I have a chance to spar periodically with the chairman of the committee, the delegate from Suffolk. I always enjoy our conversations, our debates, because they're, for the most part, civil, and we try to keep to the facts. And I can say, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, there is nobody in this body who works as hard on this budget as the chairman, the delegate from Suffolk, and I think we all ought to give him a round of applause and thank you for that. You know, of course, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't do it alone. We already recognize his staff for all the wonderful work they do. And there's so many of the subcommittees, the subcommittee chairs, I'm looking around the room, the vice chair and the subcommittee chairs who work so hard to put this together. And where I appreciate all that hard work. The good news, Mr. Speaker, I think is that the Virginia economy is really booming right now, largely because of a lot of decisions we've made here in this chamber. Great states and great commonwealths just don't happen. They are the products of a lot of decisions, some very big decisions, some small decisions that add up in a way that move a state forward. And I think we have been moving in the right direction in so many different ways here in Virginia. And because of this booming economy, Mr. Speaker, we have a historic opportunity this year to make some pretty major investments in the programs and the services that Virginians consider important. Whether it's K-12, higher ed, workforce development, mental health, school safety, broadband, Chesapeake Bay remediation, clean water and air, public safety, the list goes on and on. But on our side, Mr. Speaker, we do not want to squander that opportunity by doubling down on the Trump tax scheme and by transferring large sums of money disproportionately to those who already have it, including sending money to people who will not actually pay more in Virginia tax as a result of the Trump tax scheme. Now, some of you in this body were here many years ago. I was not here. I think the Speaker was here when a decision like this was made before. And that decision was involving about $950 million in transfers through the infamous car tax relief program. In that case, the greatest amount of benefit went to people who live in Northern Virginia and high-income taxpayers. That's what's happening this time with this budget and this bill. What happened several years later? Those of you who are here remember. A huge fiscal problem 2 years later, with the result that we had to turn around, swallow hard, and raise taxes on Virginians. Many of you who are not here don't remember, but those who were remember it very well. Mr. Speaker, when the governor introduced his amendments, he proposed a number of very good things, including a teacher raise. I think everyone in this body has now embraced the notion that we should have a teacher raise. And even though the teacher raise in the House budget is not exactly the same amount, and it doesn't occur as quickly as the governor would have proposed, it still is a teacher raise. And there is employee raises in this budget as well. So it's not like the budget is terrible. There are good things in this budget. Medicaid is fully funded, and we're talking about base Medicaid before expansion. We're honoring our promises to Micron and to Amazon in this budget. There is some funding for rural broadband, although not as much as the governor proposed. Mr. Speaker, what today is about is making this budget better. In the next several hours, you all will have a chance to support a lot of the good things that we need to invest in for our citizens without embracing the philosophy of the Trump tax scheme. You'll have a chance to vote for money for K-12, vote for higher education funding, You'll have a chance to invest more in our voting system. You'll have a chance to accelerate our investments to clean up the Chesapeake Bay, in affordable housing, in emergency preparedness, in need-based student financial aid. And you will have a chance today to vote to give a tax break to everyone in the Commonwealth who earns $125,000 or less a year, to working families. And you will have a chance to give that tax break right now, right away, not waiting for some kind of special session, not waiting till next year, but right now. So, Mr. Speaker, every one of us will have a choice in the next few hours. And I hope of all of us, as we look at the objections and the amendments, will consider the obligation not to blindly just vote red or green, depending on party, but instead based on what is in the best interest of Virginia. Mr. Speaker, we have a chance to make this budget better. In the next few hours, I hope we will take that opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.